Hi there, this is Reed Kennedy with the Pacifica Historical Society's Footprints of Pacifica, a show where we gather together to discuss the lure and the lore, the character and the characters in Pacifica. Tonight I'm joined with Ann Evers-Hitz, who's just authored a book, a Pacifica resident, who's just authored a book called The History of the Emporium Stores, the Emporium department stores, of which I was an employee, a proud employee, for 12 plus years in my youth. With that said, welcome, Ann.
Thank you.
What brought you to Pacifica?
We wanted to get out of San Francisco, find a bigger house. This was 25 years ago, and I ended up on Pedro Point and have been here, as I said, for 25 years.
Terrific. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
What brought about the writing of this book?
Well, there was a family connection. I was not an employee, but my great-great-grandfather, we have a picture of him here, Frederick Wilhelm Dorman, a German immigrant, was one of the founders in the late 1800s. And he came to San Francisco in about 1862 via the Panama Canal and Iowa. So he was quite an entrepreneur, and he was one of the founders, and I got the idea to write it, and I got the contract. So,
terrific.
Yeah.
And where did you start?
Well, actually, this is another interesting picture that I found at the Bancroft Library, which ran in the San Francisco Chronicle about F.W. Dorman, and it says how the busiest man in San Francisco does the work of 10 men. So I started at the Bancroft because that's where the Dorman papers are stored, and they brought out 3 bins for me to look at, and then I ended up at the Oakland Museum, the Historical Society, the Library of Congress, and the San Francisco Public Library.
Well, that's an amazing
It was
journey.
6 months of photo research. Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Now, so the story of the store
Right.
starts at the turn of the century.
About 1896. Yeah.
And so the first big event was really the earthquake.
Well, yeah, I mean, the store started, and then it took off once they kind of got their management style together. It took off, and then the earthquake hit it extremely hard, and especially the fire, and it was destroyed. This here is a picture of it pre-earthquake, so it was quite grand, south of Market, and whereas the more upscale stores were at Union Square, but this was aimed towards a more middle-class market. So it was a very grand store pre-earthquake. You can see here a picture of the dome and how grand it was. And it also had a bandstand, this beautiful, beautiful bandstand. So everything was destroyed. As you know, the fire did more damage than the earthquake itself. And this here, this is a sort of a panoramic view. You want to show that the Emporium put out, showing the city on fire and just how bad the damage was. And this is something I actually found on eBay. And it was a way of the store to advertise that it had opened in temporary quarters, which is this next picture. They opened on Van Ness Avenue. And were very popular because people needed goods, and they were able to get them quickly. So that was the first huge disaster, but they were able to rebuild within 2 years.
Amazing.
And that's this picture here from 1907, is the store halfway rebuilt.
And they opened with great fanfare.
In 1908, and it was bigger and better than ever. So it was very, this picture here is a typical, this is from the, about 1915 of elegant ladies, and these were its glory days, the glory days. And this postcard here, whoops, can you get a picture of that? This says, the Emporium, California's largest, grandest store. That's Market Street, all rebuilt and ready for the Pan-Pacific International Exhibition, which was in 1915, and we're about to celebrate the 100th anniversary of that.
And interestingly enough, the back of this postcard is written in German.
Oh, really?
So it had quite
somebody, a German tourist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was, by all standards, an
Right.
amazing place.
Oh yeah, no, it was the Grand Dame of Market Street. It was called.
Interesting. So this takes us, I guess, into the 20s and 30s.
Well, this picture here is still 1915, and, and I call it my Mystery Girls picture, and I won't spend too long on it, but it came to me with no attribution from a former employee, actually. And I thought it looked like a bunch of Salvation Army bell ringers. I couldn't figure it out, and then I finally found out that those were the elevator operators. And they're just all in their uniforms up on the roof. So they used to go between floors and announce the different floors. So those were the glory days from there through the 20s up until the Depression.
Interesting.
Yeah. So here's some ladies on Market Street in their furs. This is from a flyer actually given to me by a Pacifica collector. And everything was pretty upbeat as, you know, the roaring 20s. And the next picture is some VIPs in Oakland announcing the H.C. Capwell merger. So that was in 1927. So they were anticipating the Bay Bridge being built in the 30s, and they wanted to extend their reach into the East Bay. So they were very excited about that. Little did they know that the market was about to crash in 2 years, and it was going to be kind of tough going there.
The Emporium Capwell didn't really combine their monikers until much later.
Right, right.
But they were always part of the same retail family.
Right. So I think they shared some marketing and some administrative functions. But they saw that as a way to expand. I mean, that they just wanted to keep growing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and this comes. Now we're in the 30s.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I have to say these. There's about 200 photos in the actual book, so these are just a very small selection that I got just to try to show representation. This woman, this is the 1930s, and to get people into the store, they always had a lot of special exhibits. So this was a model of the Golden Gate Bridge. So that would have been, what, 1936 or so?
35, 36. It opened in 37.
Yeah, so everybody was very interested in what it would be like, and this was a 25-foot-long scale model of the Golden Gate Bridge, and this lovely lady was showing it off. And these ladies are using the new escalators. So those nice elevator ladies, I guess a few of them kind of lost their jobs maybe because the escalators could take way more people.
Yes. And
they were hoping to just keep growing, and they, even though it was the Depression, they still kept investing in upgrading the stores. They felt they just had to keep things going.
Interesting.
Now we're sort of fast forwarding here a bit. I don't really have many pictures with me of the 40s. I didn't have that many available to me in the book, but the 40s were more about the war. And they had their own little fire truck in the store. I could maybe find a picture of that. And they sold war bonds in the store because they just were so, they just wanted to help the war effort however they could. Well, I can't find that one right now, but so the 40s was just sort of a hunker down time to get through it, and a lot of employees went off to fight, so they just did whatever they could for the war effort. Now this picture, can you see who this is?
Yes.
That is Jim Backus of Mr. Magoo fame. And so in the 50s, I found that they were bringing quite a few celebrities to the store to just keep customers coming and being excited about what was going on. So he drove this Model A or whatever in, and he had just written a book, so he signed those there.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was Mr. Magoo, and then the millionaire on Gilligan's Island, right? He played that role
years
too.
Later, yes.
Right, years later, right.
Funny.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name, but I can't remember his name. And his wife. He has.
Right. This is a San Francisco celebrity, actually. Our very own Dear Abby, Pauline Phillips, got her start at the San Francisco Chronicle. She told them she wanted to be a columnist, and they gave her a chance, and she became highly syndicated, as you know, and her sister was Ann Landers. But this is Dear Abby at the store signing copies of her book in the 1950s.
Oh, terrific.
Now, the other thing that was happening in the 50s was big expansion plans. So these are VIPs. This is a press photo, and they are showing the plans for Stonestown, which was the first big branch store. And this was obviously in the western end of the city, and it was a less developed part of the city, and they really wanted a lot of parking.
Yes.
Because the San Francisco downtown was just too jammed. So this was the first of many branch stores. You were telling me before, you know, all the dates and the order in which they were
I do remember
they were
the
built.
store numbers and the,
I know.
And